Doom lights on. What's up, guys? It's EROCK. And look, I want to dive headfirst into this thing because obviously some pretty big news broke today. While Howie Roseman and Doug Peterson were out at the NFL Combine in Indianapolis during their press interviews that they always do, they happened to drop this bomb.
You know, we've been so fortunate over the last couple of years to have two top 15 quarterbacks in Carson and Nick. And we've spent a lot of time discussing this internally and with him, and we've decided to let Nick become a free agent.
And look, before I get into what exactly this means for the Philadelphia Eagles, what exactly this means for Nick Foles, I just want to say first and foremost, I was wrong. I was wrong about the ultimate fate of Nick Foles when it came to the free agency period, when it came to the old tag and trade. I thought for certain that Howie Roseman was going to pull some of his Howie magic and be able to find a way, somehow, some way, find a suitor and get an asset and work with Nick Foles to find a suitable home for him, and the Eagles would come away from this walking away with something. But clearly, they decided to go ahead and let Nick Foles become a free agent. And look, I'm not going to whine and cry and bitch and moan and pout that I wasn't right or I didn't get my way. I've seen too many people in the media, too many people on Twitter, and certainly too many people on YouTube. You know, when things don't go their way or their take was incorrect, they then start bashing the organization or they start pouting and moaning. Look, when I dig my heels into a take or an opinion, which seldom happens, I'm right more times than I am wrong. But in this particular instance, the overall outcome for Nick Foles and the fate of Nick Foles, listen, I was wrong on it. I have absolutely zero shame in admitting that. And one of the reasons that I have zero shame in admitting it is because I really don't think it was for a lack of trying on the part of the Philadelphia Eagles. I mean, look, it was surprising that they come out today and state that, you know, we appreciate Nick Foles. We're just going to let him walk in free agency. But if that was their intention all along, to do the right thing by Nick, quote unquote, don't you think they would have just said that to begin with and ruled out any speculation? Don't you think they would have done that? When Adam Schefter tweets out that the Eagles are going to franchise Nick Foles with the intention of trading him and the asking price is a third-round pick, don't you think that came from somewhere? Look, if you're a Philadelphia sports fan, or, you know, you've been following along with the Bryce Harper saga that the Fightins are going through, you know that a lot of the tweets coming out by guys like Heyman and other media members are basically coming from, you know, Scott Boras and his agent, and basically trying to sway the Phillies' opinion or public opinion based upon what's right for his client or the interest of his client. When Adam Schefter tweets out that the Eagles are going to franchise tag Nick Foles and the asking price is going to be a third-round pick, do you think that's coming from Nick's agent? No, that's probably coming from the team. I think if their intention was to let him walk all along, they would have said it up front. I honestly think they gave it a try.
We've spent a lot of time discussing this internally and with him.
But
in the end, it became the classic situation of, is the juice worth the squeeze? That's a question that gets asked a lot. But in this particular instance, the major, I think, hurdle in trading Nick Foles was the salary cap. I mean, $25 million, you got to fit him underneath the cap before you can even think about trading him. And the Eagles aren't in terrible, horrific, horrendous salary cap position, but they're not in good salary cap position either. You know, they're not in great shape. They're not going to have a lot of money to spend in free agency. So having that albatross of trying to fit Nick Foles underneath the salary cap, that means you got to have guys renegotiate. That means you probably got to let some people go that you don't want to let go. And for what? I mean, honestly, if some team offered the Philadelphia Eagles a first-round pick, I think they would have done anything in their power to move whatever assets they had to move to make enough salary cap to then trade Nick Foles. But if it's going to be a third-round pick anyway, is the juice really worth the squeeze? Is it? Is it? And if it's not, then why really to go through with it? I do think they explored the option. I don't think they were able to do it. And in the end, bowed out kind of gracefully and did the right thing by Nick. I think that factored into it. What Nick Foles has done for this organization is unlike what any other quarterback in Eagles franchise history has done for the organization. So in that respect, doing the right thing by him is certainly earned, but I don't think that was the determining factor. I mean, I think they tried to get something done and just ultimately failed. I saw on Twitter some guy was calling this a mistake, what they should have done. Look, if you try and you can't, don't. If you try it and you can't, don't put yourself in the position which a lot of the people, and rightfully so, who were saying, EROCK, I don't think he's going to be traded because what if you can't trade him and then you got that salary cap, now you got a $25 million backup that hamstrings anything that you could do in free agency. All legitimate points, but if you're really going to try to force the issue, that's where you make the mistake. That's where that comes back to bite you in the ass. They tried it. It wasn't going to go. The juice wasn't worth the squeeze, so they're letting Nick do his thing. And hey, I can't be mad at it. Was I wrong? Yes. But do I think the Eagles did the right thing? Underneath the circumstances, and with trying, I do believe they did the right thing. Moving on to what exactly this means for the Philadelphia Eagles, I do think that it's Nate Sudfeld's job to lose. Being the backup quarterback, I know a lot of the people that were arguing for Nick Foles to be traded before last season, again, firm line in the stand, took a hard stance on that. Nick Foles shouldn't be traded, was right on that one. But a lot of people that were in favor of trading Nick Foles looked at Nate Sudfeld like a capable backup, and I do think he's a capable backup. I think it's his job to lose. Will they add a veteran presence? It'd be nice to. Be nice to have a veteran guy like that, but if you look at the available free agent quarterbacks, I mean, if anybody, I would say maybe Ryan Fitzpatrick has the best pedigree, has the intelligence to pick up the offense, and could fill in as a starter if, God forbid, heaven fucking forbid, that Carson Wentz goes down for a third year in a row. Again, heaven fucking forbid. But I think Ryan Fitzpatrick might be your best available option. However, with the salary cap situation that they're in, they have to learn their mistakes from the Chase Daniels and the Mark Sanchez's of the world, and not overpay for a backup that you don't think you can win with just because you need a body. I certainly don't think that would be advantageous to the team. So I do think it's Nate Sudfeld's job to lose. Something that did kind of like kind of make me go both when Doug Peterson and Howie Roseman were talking, and it's something that I didn't necessarily poo-poo off, but again, you have to look at all the reporting that's done in professional sports nowadays and understand that sometimes there's a voice behind the voice, and the voice is speaking that voice in the best interests of their team or their client, or their pal or whatever. And that was, we heard that Jason Kelce might be considering retirement, and then that kind of got squashed and just kind of like went away. A lot of us were like, I don't know about that one, and it just kind of went away. They were asked about that both individually during their press conferences, and neither one of them either refuted or dismissed the rumor or the theory that Jason Kelce was going to retire, and more or less said, we'll have those internal discussions and, monitor him, and obviously we want what's best for the player, blah, 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 blah. But it'd be nice to hear a no. It'd be nice to hear like, no, he ain't retiring. Nope, never had those discussions with Jason. Nope, Jason's never voiced that to us, that he had any desire to retire. They did not say that, which made me go, really? I'm not ready to push the panic button on the offensive line yet. But you have to understand that this is a huge area of concern. Even with the guys that they have, Lane Johnson, solid as shit. Brooks tears his Achilles And unless he's some sort of medical freak, which rarely offensive linemen are, he won't be ready for the start of the season. So you're going to be down your all-pro, Pro Bowl guard. Jason Kelce, mulling over retirement, apparently. If he wasn't, wouldn't one of those two say, no, he isn't retiring? No, they didn't say it. So that's a concern. And you have Jason Peters, which, again, I forget whether it's his 15th or 16th season he's going to be entering in at an advanced age and at a point in his career where he's checking himself out of games. And Vaitai isn't the same player coming into a game cold as he is when he's expected to be the starter. I mean, that's just the way it is. So you genuinely have question marks at 3 out of the 5 offensive line positions. Again, not hitting the panic button quite yet, but this is something that as an Eagles fan, you're going to want to monitor, because this could become a problem big time if the Eagles don't have the foresight to do the right things, the foresight to draft the right people. And you can look no further than right up north to the New York Giants and see all the problems they've been having, all the misery that they've been going through, all the losses that they've been just accruing and accumulating, loss after loss after miserable loss. If you're going to boil it down to the root thing, it's poor drafting and poor free agency at one key position, and that's the offensive fucking line. Unless that is good, the whole thing goes tits up. That's just the way it is. I hope the Eagles are able to find Brooks wasn't a diamond in the rough in free agency, but I would say he was a top B-tier free agent, and he turned out to be like an all-pro for us and a Pro Bowl player. If the Eagles want to go ahead and invest free agency into something like that, God bless you. Please do. Because we need, I don't want to say capable starters, because we have capable starters. We need consistent starters. We need guys we can depend on. We need guys that are going to know they're going to be there for a while, especially with Carson Wentz's contract looming, especially with the injuries that he's already had. It is of the utmost importance to make sure that that guy doesn't get injured again. It's of the utmost importance. So hopefully they take their free agency period to look into the offensive line. Hopefully with an additional second-round pick, they look into some quality offensive linemen. Obviously, you know, you've got some guys on the team who you're still grooming to hopefully fill in those roles, including Mulata. We don't know what to make of him yet. I think he can be really good. He's still really raw, and he's still a year away from really contributing on a big-time basis with this team. It's going to be interesting to see what they do in free agency. I him and Hall back and forth between... Listen, when the Eagles want to be aggressive, they're aggressive. Does that mean Le'Veon Bell? Doubt it, especially the money that he's asking for, especially in the first 2 years of the contract. And if you look around the league, just take a gander. Just look around the league and see all the running backs that are starting in the NFL that were second-round picks. Cook. Third round, fourth round picks, Kamara. You know, you can just keep going on and on and on. Because look, let's face it, a Saquon Barkley doesn't come, but only once in a blue moon. And Ezekiel Elliott doesn't, there's not an Ezekiel Elliott in every draft, but there is good quality running backs that you can use in a formula that has been successful for the Philadelphia Eagles, which is basically a running back by committee, a stable of running backs that have different talents that you can use in different ways, and that you can exploit defensive weaknesses on a week-by-week basis. That works for the Eagles. You can find those guys in the draft. Why overpay for Le'Veon Bell? And you will overpay for Le'Veon Bell when you can just draft a guy. You literally can just go draft a guy. A lot of rumors about Antonio Brown. Look, I don't know. They got an extra fourth. What are the Steelers really willing to give up? Best receiver in football. I mean, shit. But I don't know. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens. I keep hemming and hawing between. Look, they don't have a lot of cap space. You know, they might have more of a quiet free agency and focus specifically on the draft. I think that's what they're gonna do. But then again, like, look, the Eagles have pulled rabbits out of the hats and won free agencies, you know, with tight wallets. God damn it. Car. Shit. We're not done yet. Stay on. But, shit, I just lost my whole train of thought. It's going to be interesting to see what happens in free agency with the Philadelphia Eagles. Again, wrong on what ultimately happened with Nick Foles. They let him walk. But I feel comfort in taking the L, knowing that it wasn't for a lack of trying. They tried, and they couldn't. What are you going to do? Make a bad football decision? I'd rather you don't. I'd rather me be wrong and you not make the bad football decision than me be right and you fuck this whole thing up. So I meant to be wrong. Gail, if you're watching this and or listening, probably not. But if you are, congratulations. You won the Nick Foles, what is to happen to Nick Foles argument. And I will certainly pop back in here and there as big Eagles news drops. And until then, let's go Birds, and I will see you, I don't know, whenever.